Welcome back to another episode of Sports-Fixx. I am your host, Carson Becker. We're talking about week 4 of the college football season. Had some great games this weekend, some ranked matchups, and some other great games that we had this weekend. I will start off with the AP Top 25, and I'm going to kind of go more heavy into it this week. I think I'm going to talk about where I think teams should be ranked and where they are ranked now. I think the AP Top 25 has just been it's been pretty brutal this year. It's been pretty bad. High State at 1, don't mind that. We don't mind that. Miami at 2, we don't mind that. Jumped up 2 spots. They have some great wins this year. Don't mind Miami at all at 2. Penn State at 3. I don't mind Penn State at 3. Their preseason ranking, everybody had them really high. I would probably flip Penn State and LSU. I think LSU has a more valuable win. So I think LSU and Penn State should flip. I think LSU should be 3. Penn State should be 4. But Penn State does go play Oregon this coming weekend in Happy Valley. So if they lose, they would drop anyway, and LSU would jump up there. So maybe that's why they didn't change it. I don't mind that if that's what they're doing. But I think Penn State has just... I mean, you can't punish them for winning, but the fact that they were already that high is just going to keep them up there. So it's whatever. But I don't mind that as much. Georgia at 5, I don't mind that. Oregon at 6, like I said, they go and play Happy Valley. I don't mind that as much either. Oklahoma at 7, I think I would move Oklahoma up a couple of spots, maybe even up to like 5. They have 2 great wins at home. They have a win against Michigan. They now have a win against Auburn. John Materials looked great. Their defenses looked good. I think Oklahoma deserves to be moved up a couple of spots there. So I think I would move Oklahoma into 5. Put Georgia at 6 and Oregon at 7. That's what I think I would do there. But I don't mind these 3 teams either. I don't mind that as much. Florida State at 8, I don't mind that. They have a great win against Alabama. You got to keep them ranked above Alabama. So I don't mind that. They're undefeated, so they're fine. Texas A&M at 9, I don't mind that either. They have played pretty well this year and have the win over Notre Dame. So in Notre Dame in South Bend. So I don't mind that at 9. Texas at 10. I don't mind that. I kind of like them to keep moving down just because they have not played how they should play against some of these bad teams. They do obviously have the loss to Ohio State from the week 1. Obviously, the best loss you can have at this point right now. So I don't mind them. Indiana moving up 8 spots to 11. I don't mind that either. Kind of. They beat Illinois, who was 9th. So, based on the ranking, I can see them moving up to 11, but Illinois should have never been 9 to begin with. So, I don't know how much I actually like that one either. I don't think they're better than Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia Tech. I don't think they're better than any of those teams who are all ranked below them. But, based on the rankings, that's how they had to rank them. And the AP poll is just so inconsistent, especially this year. It's been bad, honestly, this year. Texas Tech at 12 moves up 5 spots. I like that one. They beat a good Utah team on the road. Utah now unranked, but they were 16, 17, 16. So I don't mind that. I don't think they're better than Ole Miss though, but based on the win, I can see them going ahead of them. Ole Miss is 13. Iowa State at 14. Nobody's really talked about them since they won at Kansas State against Kansas State in Dublin. So, I mean, that's fine, I guess. Tennessee at 15, they have the 1 loss. I think that's why they're a little lower than some of these other teams. They lost to Georgia, so they lost to a very good team. I don't mind them. Georgia Tech at 16, they're just slowly moving up. They had another great win this week. Moved up 2 spots. Alabama at 17, 2-1. I don't mind Alabama being this low. They do have the loss to Florida State, so they can't go higher than that. And I don't know. Nobody really knows how good of a team they actually are. They haven't really played anybody since that Florida State team, and losing to an unranked Florida State team is going to keep you ranked pretty low. They will have the chance to prove it this week, going and playing at Georgia. So if they win that game, they will jump way up in the rankings. So look out for that game. Vanderbilt at 18, don't mind that. Michigan at 19, don't mind that. Mizzou at 20, I don't mind that either. They beat South Carolina at home. USC at 21, they kind of just snuck into the rankings. I don't think a lot of people's already paid attention to USC this year. They are 4-0, so look for them. Notre Dame being in the ranking, I don't know if I like that or if they should just not be in the ranking. I almost think they lost to Miami, and they lost to Texas A&M at home. They lost to Miami by 3, and they lost to Texas A&M by 1 on a botched extra point that it should have never happened, and that should have been a tie game going into overtime. So, I don't know if I mind them being in the ranking with 2 really good losses, but I think the only reason they're keeping them in the ranking is to keep them in the playoff race, which is, if they were any other team, they probably would have fell out of the ranking. But because they're Notre Dame, they're going to stay in the ranking for as long as possible so they can get into the playoff and be another team in the playoff that the rankings would actually want. Illinois at 23, they're 3-1. They shouldn't even be ranked after getting stomped like they did. 63-10, they shouldn't even be ranked. So whatever. I don't even think they should be ranked. Put Auburn in the ranking, or keep Auburn in the ranking. Put Mississippi State in the ranking. Put Mississippi State at 25. I don't mind that. TCU at 24, BYU at 25. So the rest of the rankings I don't mind. I think it's really Notre Dame, keeping them in just to keep them in the playoff race. They do have 2 really good losses, so I guess it's okay. Illinois being in the ranking, no, they shouldn't. So a couple of things I think should change in the AP top 25, but it's not going to change. They're going to keep voting this way, and it's going to keep doing this all until we get to the college football playoff rankings, and it's like this every year, so it's not even worth complaining about at this point because it's going to happen every year. I think we need it to be the college football playoff rankings all year, and I think the rankings would be a lot better. So, but that's all for the AP Top 25. It was a little more extended. I wanted to go deeper into it, talk more about the teams and where I think teams should be at this point. So that's why it kind of got extended. It's a little longer than I usually talk about the AP Top 25. But we will now go into a couple of kind of breaking news type things. Maybe not breaking news for Clemson. I want to talk about Clemson, how they've just completely fallen apart. It's looking like an FSU year for them, Florida State year for them. They lost again this week, losing to Syracuse, who they just should not lose to for the most part. And I don't know what's going on with them. They need to figure it out. Dabo Swinney needs to use the transfer portal more, or whatever it is. They need to figure it out because they have little to no offense in the first half. It's like in the first half, they don't know how to play football. And then the second half, they put up some points, but they still end up losing because their defense isn't good either. So I don't know what's going on with them. Now for a little bit of breaking news coming out today. Oklahoma State fired Mike Gundy after 21 years of coaching. Oklahoma State's had a rough couple of years. They won their first 3 games last year and then didn't win another one all year. So, a rough year. They've now started this year 1-2. Got blown out by Oregon 69-3. So he's had a rough couple years. He did have a great career at Oklahoma State. He ended up with a record of 170-90 at Oklahoma State. So a great record for him. Great career. Was the most winningest coach in school history at Oklahoma State. So great career for him. I do see him coaching somewhere else next year, unless he just retires or something. But for the most part, I see him coaching next year as well. So great career for him. Sad to see him go from Oklahoma State. Felt like he's been there for forever, which obviously he has, 21 years, but he will be coaching somewhere next year. Okay, and now we will go into the games this past weekend. We had some great top 25 matchups. We're starting with a top 25 matchup. Texas Tech, 17th in the country. Utah, 16th in the country. Coming into this one, a more defensive battle than I thought. I was expecting a whole lot of points, not a whole lot of defense, like the typical Big 12 we usually see. It was not the case this week for these two teams. Score was 10-3 at half, which was a very surprising thing to me. A lot of turnovers in this one, including an interception when the wide receiver went off the wide receiver's head. The defender picks it off his head. It is an insane play, but two teams that were really good really good coming into this one. They had two good quarterbacks coming into this one, and just a whole lot of turnovers. Devon Dampier struggled in this one, only throwing 162 yards. Texas Tech starting QB got hurt. Backup comes in right before halftime, I think, on their drive leading into halftime, and their backup quarterback ended up having more passing yards than Devon Dampier. So a real struggle for Devon Dampier, and it really proves to be a problem for Utah. He had 2 interceptions in this one, no touchdowns. They got nearly doubled up in yards in this one. Texas Tech with 484 total yards in this one, and they scored 24 points in the fourth quarter to lead them to the win on the road, 34-10. They get a great ranked win on the road, but one thing they're going to want to clean up after this one is the penalties. They had a ton of false starts in this one. Utah crowd was very loud. They were rowdy. Texas Tech ended up with 14 penalties for 122 yards. So they will look to clean that up coming in to this next week, coming into the rest of their games of the season, Big 12. They're looking like a very good team in the Big 12 there, so watch out for Texas Tech. Next, we got another ranked matchup here with Illinois versus Indiana. 9th-ranked Illinois going on the road in Indiana. And this game was never close. Indiana blocked a punt, returned it for a touchdown early in this one, and they never looked back. I thought this was going to be a close game. I think I even picked Illinois to win this game last week, which I'm not really sure why. I knew Illinois was ranked too high, but I didn't know how good Indiana really was. So that was a mistake on my part, but Indiana outgained Illinois 579 yards to 161 in this one. Absolutely crazy dominance from Indiana. Indiana's QB had 5 touchdown passes in this one, and Indiana wins big 63-10 in this one. Indiana looked very good. A lot of people mad about them getting into the playoff last year, not playing anybody. They now have a top 10 win, which probably shouldn't have been a top 10 win, but with the AP poll, it's going to be teams are ranked where they're ranked, and that's going to go on the winning team's resume as a very good win for Indiana. So Indiana gets the big win. They're now 11th in the AP poll, so look for Indiana to maybe be another good team in the Big Ten. There's some pretty good teams in the Big Ten there, so I don't know. But Indiana gets the win. The next game was possibly the best game we saw all day on Saturday. Number 22 Auburn goes to Norman to play the 11th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma playing another ranked team at home in this one. They played Michigan early in the year, if you remember correctly. This one was close all the way through. A lot of defense played in this one. Much more of an SEC game than I thought. A lot more defense. I thought Oklahoma was kind of going to break away, put up some more points, but they don't. Their defense leads the way, recording 10 sacks in this one, a school record, and it played a huge role in how this game ended up. Both QBs played well in this one. John Mateer with 271 yards and a touchdown, and he is now the favorite to win the Heisman this year. I think for good reason. He's played very well. He's kept Oklahoma just riding this great. I mean, their defense has been great. Their offense has been pretty good with John Mateer back there. He's having to do a whole lot. He's really just been the best player on his team, and Oklahoma wins this one 24-17, advances to 4-0. My only thing with Oklahoma is John Mateer has had to do a lot on that offense. He's not only had to lead them in passing yards, but in this one he had to lead them in rushing yards, which he only ended up with like 28, 38 or something like that. So not a whole lot of run game from them. And it's going to be very hard to beat these SEC teams if they can't run the ball without just running John Mateer. They're going to have to run the ball with a running back as well and be able to pass very well. So Oklahoma will probably look to clean that up, see if they can get the run game going this next week. And they're looking really good. They're looking like a great team in the SEC. We always got a lot of good teams in the SEC every year. So look for Oklahoma to be another one of those good teams coming off a relatively bad year last year and looking really good this year. So next game I would like to talk about is number 21 Michigan going to Nebraska. I think we all thought this was going to be a good game. I really thought it was going to be a good game. I think I wanted to see how Bryce Underwood was going to play on the road again. He didn't play very well in the Oklahoma game when they played, and he didn't play that great in this one either. He ended up with 105 passing yards, no touchdown passes, went 12 for 22 passing, and Dylan Raiola outperformed him by a lot. Dylan Raiola ends up with 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in this one, and he really kept Nebraska in this game. They could not run the ball. Their defense really could not stop the run. He threw a Hail Mary at the end of the first half to make it a tie game, 17-17. Just a crazy play, a whole lot of momentum for Nebraska going into halftime. But the story for Nebraska, they could not stop the run. Justice Haynes goes for 149 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 8.8 yards per carry. 8.8. Insane. Insane. I mean, Nebraska's defense just could not stop the run. And then the backup, Jordan Marshall, goes for 80 yards and a touchdown, and he averaged 13.3 yards per carry. I mean, just absolutely insane that they can just run the ball like that on a Nebraska team that was not bad. I mean, Nebraska's not, you don't really hear much about Nebraska. They're not great, but they're not bad. They're not a bad team. They have a pretty good defense, and it just did not show up against the run. Their pass defense was great. Their run defense was just non-existent. Bryce Underwood went for a 37-yard touchdown on the ground. Then Justice Haynes went for a 75-yard touchdown on the ground. And then they gave up a 54-yard rushing touchdown to Jordan Marshall in this game. So they're not only can't stop the run, they're giving up big runs as well, all going for those touchdowns. It really just killed Nebraska in this one. And Nebraska is still a good team. Michigan's a pretty good team. Their run game's really good, but it's really going to depend, for Michigan, it's really going to depend on their passing game. Can they pass the ball? Because they're not going to be able to run the ball like this on every team. So can they pass the ball at a high clip with this talented freshman, the best freshman you've ever seen? So, I mean, he's just all in his head. I think he needs to play a lot better if they want to be a good team, if they want to keep being a good team. So, but Michigan gets the win despite all the non-passing yards that Bryce Underwood had. So, but next game, I will move on to South Carolina going to Missouri. Missouri ranked 23rd in the country coming into this one. North Sellers looked pretty good, throwing 302 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. And when he had time, they looked really good. When he didn't have time, South Carolina's offense did not look good. So the thing that killed South Carolina, they couldn't pass block. They couldn't run the ball. Their leading rusher was Winnour Sellers. Or their leading rusher had 7 yards. Winnour Sellers had negative 28 yards. And they had a total of negative 9 rushing yards in this one. So absolutely no run game. But Winnour made up for it in the passing game, keeping South Carolina in this game more than they probably should have. And he really did play pretty well. He threw the ball really well. But on the other hand, Missouri ran the ball for 285 yards. Really could not be stopped on the ground. They didn't even really have to pass the ball that much in this one. And Missouri ends up getting the win 29-20. So South Carolina falls again. They fall to 2-2, 0-2 in the SEC. I thought South Carolina was going to be a whole lot better this year, and they've just struggled. They have a good offense. They have Nick Harbor, who runs like a 4.2, probably 40. And Winnour, who's a really good quarterback. I had him as my Heisman favorite. Not looking like he's going to be the Heisman. So South Carolina really just struggling. And maybe it'll be like last year where they pick it up at the end of the year and they end up being a pretty good team. Probably not going to get into the playoff. Definitely not going to get into the SEC championship at this point. So maybe they'll surprise a couple teams later on and make their season look a whole lot better than it really was. But they lose. Missouri wins. And the next game I will talk about is the last game of the weekend. We had game day here, Florida versus Miami. Game day in attendance. We got people jumping off the high dive. Jess Sims jumps off the high dive. Pat McAfee runs off the set of game day to jump off the high dive in a Speedo. Absolutely a hilarious way to start our Saturday before football even begins. And it was a great game as well. Miami did not show a lot of offense. Florida could not move the ball. Miami's defense was all over Florida. DJ Lagway, another bad performance. We all saw him in the LSU game, absolutely terrible in that game. Did not play well in this one either. 61 yards in this one. And Florida only had 141 total yards in this one and 7 first downs, compared to Miami's 21 first downs and 344 yards. So the score might have looked pretty close, but it really wasn't that close. Miami was pretty dominant all the way through. Miami did run the ball for 184 yards in this one. Carson Beck didn't really have to throw the ball in this one. He did throw for 160 yards and an interception, but it was a lot of checkdowns, a lot of just short passes. They didn't really let him throw, but they also didn't really need him to throw with how the run game was working. So I looked for him to be a little better in this one, but he still looked pretty good. Miami winning this one 26-7. Really could have been a whole lot worse for Florida there. But that is all the games from this past weekend. We had some great ones. I can't wait until the weekend coming up. I will be putting out another video to preview those games this week. And we got a great weekend. We got Ohio State plays Washington. I didn't mean to say Ohio State, but you got Penn State, Oregon. You got Georgia, Alabama, which was probably the best game of the year last year. And we got some other great ranked matchups. So a great week of college football coming up, and I cannot wait to watch all the games this coming up weekend. Thank you for watching this episode of Sports-Fixx. I am Carson Becker, and I will see you next time.